welcome to Detroit in Black and White, our Thursday edition, but we're here on Wednesday, the day before the 4th of July, with Jim Nardone over at Ramsey. How you doing, Jim?
Good evening. Well, thank you.
Allan, co-founder of Deadline Detroit. How you doing?
Good. By the way, the Instagram thing, I don't know if we changed times, but for some reason it's not connecting. So it's a little info there.
Well, I'm going to blame that on you, Allan.
Yeah, well, I think I need to probably update the link on that. But
so if they can't get us on Instagram, how can they get us tonight?
They can get it on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter or X.
And subscribe, and send it on.
Right. Sure.
Well, since Saturday, we had the Democratic Party about to implode. They want Joe Biden, whether they go public or they saying it in private, they want the president, I call him grandpa, they want him to step aside, but there's nobody out there that can take the keys from Joe Biden, except maybe Jill Biden, and she's not gonna do it. But the guy that put him where he is at now, he can make a difference, and that's Clyburn out of South Carolina. Now, if he turns on him, he gonna back him in the corner. Allan, you think that might happen?
It's a possibility. I mean, I saw him, I believe, yesterday, and he was saying that he supports Joe Biden, but if Joe Biden were to step aside, he would be backing Kamala Harris, which I've seen. I read somewhere where a poll, they showed Kamala Harris can beat Donald Trump, which I think people in the past thought that wasn't possible. This is my feeling. I think Kamala Harris and Governor Beshear out of Kentucky together could form a team. I think right now the Democrats see it as the most important thing is not who wins for the Democrats, but who keeps Donald Trump out of the White House.
Trump.
Go ahead, Jeff.
No, you brought up Donald Trump, and I'm going to tell you, this isn't Donald Trump. To me, this isn't on Donald Trump. This is on the Democratic Party and the mainstream media that has gone all in for Joe Biden. So on Thursday night, I hate to use this word, but I'm going to use it. They were pissing down their legs on every mainstream media station. They're in a huge quandary, right? They don't know what to do. So they were just starting to get their legs back over the weekend. They realized that it wasn't a fatal flaw, right? He had a bad appearance. And then Monday comes along, and the Democrats, again, began pissing down their own legs when it came to the Supreme Court decision. It's really unfortunate. I think they are the ones that are going to propel Donald Trump to the presidency, the mainstream media and the Democratic Party.
What's crazy about this? Trump been silent, and the Republicans basically have not jumped on the bandwagon and say, quit, because they know they got a psycho that's running for president, and you got a lot of people that don't want him, and Republicans, a ton of Republicans would rather see Donald Trump go right along with Joe Biden. So they have some problems.
I think what you're seeing, though, is the start of a campaign. And I think you saw it the other night on CNN with Carl Bernstein of the Watergate fame. He came out with a report saying that he's been told by people close to Joe Biden in the last, 6 months to a year, that Joe Biden's had 15 to 20 episodes similar to the debate where he stared. And then the New York Times the next day came out with it again. And that's how Washington operates. The leakers. I mean, look, Bannon was a major leaker, Scaramucci, all these guys were leaking left and right. And that's how it's done in Washington. But Joe Biden has been around. He's a survivor of that, whatever you want to call it, the swamp or whatever. He knows how to navigate. So, I mean, if he wants to stay, he'll stay. The question really is, what's best for the country? What's best, not what's best for the Democratic Party, what's best for the country? And the question is it best for Joe Biden? He's got to interview. I said this last week. He's going to go to ABC, give an exclusive, which he is now doing on Friday with George Stephanopoulos. I'm sure he's going to be all hopped up or whatever. And if he performs well, then people go, okay, well, maybe
Are you a history person, Allan?
not as much as you, but
Well, you read about Al Cid.
No.
You know Al Cid, the great Spanish leader. That Charleston Heston made a movie with him. Listen, when they ran the Moors out of Spain, they put Al Cid. He was dead. They put him on a horse, and he led the charge. This is what the Democrats are trying to do. Some of them, because some of them know that if Biden is gone, they got no power, no anything. The progressives would rather see Biden out of there, and then you got another faction that says, okay, he's been doing that for 6-7 months. Why didn't they leak it 6-7 months ago and saying, he's unfit to run another term? There's nothing wrong with saying that this guy, 4 years, he did a pretty good job. But now, can we trust him for another 4 years? We can't trust Donald Trump for another 4 years. So here we got not even the lesser of two evils. This country is, we at the crossroads where you're gonna vote for a psycho or you're gonna vote for somebody that's got onset dementia.
Go ahead, Jim. I'm sorry.
No, the question I have for both of you: why is the Democratic Party spending their time propping up Donald Trump and not Joe Biden? And that's what it appears to be the case. It's Donald Trump all the time. All right. For people to think, you guys been around a while. We've all been around a while, right? I haven't been involved in politics, but I will tell you this. If we think that Donald Trump can become a king and eliminate democracy, there's something wrong with us. One man is not going to change our republic. And people that believe that and people that are spouting that propaganda, they need to come back and tell people the truth.
Well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
A few things that if you read the Supreme Court decision, there are some things that are very, very alarming and very scary. I won't go away from that. I will tell you that if you read some of that stuff, what Donald Trump was trying to do, you should be alarmed, right? But to suggest that we have a House of Representatives, we have a U.S. Supreme Court, we have a Senate, we have there's brave people in this country that have stood up for what's right since the beginning of our country, and they're going to continue to do things. And to go on TV, Joy Reid, and suggest, oh, he's going to become a king. We're at the end of the world. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. If there's
I disagree. I disagree with you on a lot of fronts. First of all, Donald Trump, who's a dangerous guy, is a more dangerous guy after the Supreme Court ruling there. And you say, one guy. Well, look, we have three branches of government, and those are all supposed to be checks and balances. Well, part of the checks and balances, when the president does something really fucked up, like Nixon, Congress, another branch of government, went to him and said, you got to go. Now, whatever Trump did in office, the Senate was no longer, you have to have 60 votes to get a conviction for impeachment. They weren't going to do it, no matter what he did. So there goes lop off one branch of government. Then you take the courts, which is another branch of, in the checks and balances, and he's filled up the courts with people who are not either incompetent or such ideologues that he has cut the three branches of government into 1.5. So I think you're underestimating, the power. I mean, we have the House of Representatives now who would never do anything to remove, if the Republican majority would never do anything to impeach or whatever. And so I think he has successfully, more than any president, he has reminded us that our Constitution is not as strong, our democracy is not as strong and solid as we thought it was. I disagree.
Well, if he gets to be president, he's going to send a squad of army folks to arrest the Democratic leadership, You know, that's what people are worried about, because he has these people that's around him saying, we gonna payback as a motherfucker. And we coming at those
do. Is that
folks.
what you're suggesting? Are you suggesting, Adolph, that the president of the United States is going to go after his political opponents?
Yeah.
As in the current group.
Yeah. I think so. Listen, we have seen it in other countries where when Hitler got elected, he didn't overthrow the government. He got elected. He co-opted the police. He co-opted the courts, and they went right along with him, and they did his bidding. You just have to look at some of these dictatorships where the people in the army, the people that was in control, the wealthy, they the one put these people in power. And go ahead, Allan.
I would like to say that not only that, but when we talk about dictators and fascists and all that kind of stuff, I mean, one of the first victims in a democracy is truth. And I think Donald Trump has numbed people to the fact when people say he's a serial liar, they go, who cares? What about Hillary? You know, it used to be, it wasn't that presidents didn't lie, but when they got caught in a lie, it was a big deal. Now it does. People don't care about the truth anymore. They're like,
they do.
Not as many as should. Not as many as should.
The truth came out on Thursday. That's
that's some of the truth. The truth the truth is that Donald Trump, I've seen him give speeches where he fades out in the exact same way and mutters crazy things about sharks in the water and electricity. And
well, he's a weak ass piece of garbage. I met Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a scary ass. He's not even a bully. He's one of those folks that he's an assassin. He'll hit you in the head with a brick behind your back. He will get somebody else to do his dirty work, and then he lies about it. There's no question about it.
You know what? I'll say this, Adolph. I know Donald Trump, and you're no Donald Trump.
No, I don't want to be Donald Trump.
Exactly.
Can you imagine him back in power? Eric Trump, Donald Jr., that same old crew, Stephen Miller, all these people.
Bannon, Roger Stone. I mean, these people. You talk about the swamp. They brought. He emptied a little bit. He drained the swamp about that much, and then filled it up that much with.
He created his own swamp.
A bigger swamp than there was.
Well,
I mean, look. There's a reason. There's a reason all the people quit his cabinet or were fired or whatever. I mean,
he got a whole crew of folks that he can, go hire. Listen, he put a party planner in charge of HUD housing in New York, one of the most important positions in the state of New York for the federal government. She was a party planner. That kind of stuff. He took a prominent surgeon and made him in charge of HUD, Ben Carson, who he was a great doctor, and then he just fucked himself up by associating with Trump, and he bought into this shit.
Yeah.
So can we go back?
Go ahead.
Let's go back to the Supreme Court decision. I want to know what your gentleman's opinion is on that immunity. I think that you need to look at the people that haven't looked at it. You have two comments, one on Deadline Detroit and one over here on Detroit in Black and White. One said it was the right decision. The other one said Trump will be king. Which is it?
Well, you know what? Before we go let's take a break, and we come back and we answer that question. There's Detroit in Black and White.
Teresa, are you going to play that or you want me to?
What's on your mind?
What are the issues facing you and your families today?
Before we ask for your vote, Alyssa Slotkin wants to hear about your concerns.
Democrat Alyssa Slotkin is running for U.S. Senate, and she wants to have a real conversation about your issues.
Is it support for our small businesses, funding for our schools, good paying jobs, or opportunities for our youth?
Alyssa is already building a campaign around listening.
It's how she shapes her agenda in Congress.
And why Alyssa's already been endorsed by small business owners, pastors, and leaders from our community.
We know too many campaigns come to us right before the election and ask for our vote.
That's not Alyssa. She has a reputation for listening and delivering.
And this is your chance to help shape the agenda in Washington.
Make your voice heard. Go to alyssaslotkin.org/community.
Because in this campaign, your ideas come first.
I'm Alyssa Slotkin, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Slotkin for Michigan.
All right.
Without Project Clean Slate, there is no telling where I would be right now.
It gave him back his life, because once he got the felony, it seemed like life was over.
Without Project Clean Slate, there is no telling where I would be right now.
It gave him back his life, because once he got the felony, it seemed like life was over.
Being unemployed, being depressed, being a burden. Project Clean Slate helped wipe those things away. I can't say thank you enough. I am now able to work for a reputable airline. Detroit had my back, all because I live in Detroit.
Okay. My answer is, do I think it's dangerous? I think if Joe Biden stays in there, I think that Supreme Court ruling is not that significant, except in Trump's case. I think if Trump gets in there, he's going to take advantage of it. I think it's a dangerous weapon for somebody abusive like that, who's abusive, who has no respect for the presidency, who thinks it's a corporation. He thinks it's Trump Towers. He thinks he can run all the same shams that he ran at Trump Tower. And I think it's dangerous for people who are going to abuse it.
Well, the Twilight Zone had an episode with Peter Falk. He played a Castro-like dictator. He took over the country, and he had a magic mirror. In the mirror, he saw everybody was his enemies. And at the end, he had killed all the people that helped him get there. He was just killing folks. That's Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a paranoid psycho who, I think, if he gets in there, he's going to free all the folks that stormed the Capitol. Two, man, if he don't like what a judge do, he might send the FBI to arrest him, or the CIA to assassinate somebody over in France or England or whatever.
Well, you better be careful with that, Adolph, because I can take you right back to 2011 when 4 U.S. citizens in Yemen, 2 that deserved it, 2 were Al-Qaeda operatives, but a 16-year-old man was killed, 16-year-old kid was killed by the Barack Obama administration. And without immunity, as you know, that'd be a violation of U.S. Law, and it would also be a violation of international law, which means there is no statute of limitations on murder. So perhaps you guys might look at things a little differently if you thought Barack Obama would be standing trial for a homicide.
But you know what? We are hypocrites because we went into countries, Noriega, we kidnapped him and put him in jail, and then when he served his time, he was the president of a country, and we went in and we arrested him. We put the Shah of Iran in power because the CIA went and disposed of his father. We've been doing this shit for a long time. This is
just so. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Just so the people that are viewing understand this, and they should understand this, it's only when he steps outside the boundaries of the Constitution. And if January 6th is stepping outside the bounds of the Constitution, I don't know what is. I will tell you that. However, just like when a police officer operates outside the boundaries of the Constitution, he will be held accountable both criminally
and the time. Not all the time. And you know that, Jim. Sometimes they do. But in some cases, we can go back 50, 60, 70 years. We can go back in 1964, 3 civil rights workers. The police killed them. You know what? And listen, we know we can look at what our police agencies have done in the name of government, but we do have some checks and balances that do hold most of them accountable. But some of them get away with it.
Hey, thanks to Jim for weighing in on that, Jim. You're absolutely wrong. I appreciate your comments, but I'm not a Republican and I'm not a Democrat. And
you carrying the water. You carrying the water. What water are you carrying? Is that
tell you that?
Is that Trenton water or is that Michigan water?
Oh, from Detroit.
I appreciate his comment.
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, I mean, it's not that you can't go after the president, but there's also these other things that you can't, any conversations I think the president's had with the Justice Department. Well, look, the President Trump was conspiring with what's his name, Jeffrey, whatever, conspiring with him to take over the Justice Department and delay certification. And then it was only because the other members of the Justice Department threatened to quit that Trump realized he was going to look like a total fool. But that is now, I think, protected by this Supreme Court ruling. The Supreme Court ruling is so vague. First of all, they shouldn't have taken the case. Second of all, if they did take the case, they should have ruled on this specific case what was,
But Allan, we always had role Supreme Court justices. We look at Plessy versus Ferguson, where they said segregation, separate but equal, etc. Where they said black folks were 3/5 of a human being. Where they put the Japanese in the internment camps. But listen, the Supreme Court has been a bad court on many occasions, and then on many occasions they have been the voice of reason in this country, and they have made the hard decisions that unchanged the way America treats its citizens. Today, led by a black man, they trying to just go back in time and bring Jim Crow and racism or whatever back to the norm.
Unfortunately, we have such a lopsided, ideological divide with the Supreme Court 6-3 right now. But we also have people, particularly Clarence Thomas, but also Alito, who are just true ideologues, and Thomas perhaps being the worst. I mean, he's being bought and paid for, and his wife is part of the movement to overturn the election. He should have nothing to do with this. This is a case brought because of the rebellion, the whatever you want to call it, and she was part of that. And her husband says, "Oh, well, we have a thing where we don't talk about cases." It doesn't matter. It's the optics. If you're living with somebody, you're related to them, and they are involved in the case, you should recuse yourself. And these people don't have the decency to recuse themselves because they don't give a fuck. It's their court, but the reality is it's our court, and America has to take back that court.
Well, we dropped the ball when Ruth Ginsburg wouldn't retire early. She wanted to die on the bench. She got her wish. See, these folks, we
also Merrick Garland. They wouldn't, when Merrick Garland was nominated, they said, the Republicans said, no, we're not going to vote on it, the year of an election. So then Amy Coney Barrett is literally 2 months before or right around the election, whatever, she gets confirmed. So, and Lindsey Graham was the hypocrisy is either pick one or another. You don't think somebody should be confirmed? Fine. Merrick Garland gets screwed, but so should Amy Coney Barrett.
He didn't get screwed.
Coney Island.
The whole system got screwed. He absolutely deserved a hearing for a position on the Supreme Court. And
absolutely, and they blocked it because the majority was Republican, and
then the Republicans got their own grandpa, Mitch McConnell. He got dementia, He don't even know where he's at most of the time. These folks have been in office 50, 60 years. What Biden 81, when he got elected, how old was he? 33?
Huh. So for Senate, yeah, I think
Yes.
he was the youngest
50,
person ever.
50 fucking years he's been up there, and it's time to go.
I have a solution.
And Donald Trump Donald Trump really, it's time to go, because he's not going to last 4 years. So everybody is jockeying at this point who to be the vice presidential running mate for Trump, and they looking at Harris and saying, "Man, if Biden got reelected, she gonna be your next president." And I think that scares the hell out of a lot of folks.
I think that's a solution. Go ahead, Allan.
No, I think, Kamala Harris, I think, has not been a very popular vice president, but I think now people are seeing some options there. And, some of the Congress members, are saying she's got to be it. But, so the options are right now. The governors are meeting, I think right now, governors, including Whitmer, who's gone to the White House to meet. I think she is afraid to show any ambition to Joe Biden. She doesn't want, but the Kentucky governor, Beshear, has basically said, I'll support Biden, but he's been basically like, wouldn't bother me if he stepped down. And
they need Jim Clyburn to come and say, it's time to go.
Yep.
Now, if he said it's time to go, Biden is fucked.
Yeah.
If he says it's time to go, Biden is fucked. And I think it's getting to the point, and it's D-Day coming before the convention. He's going to have that conversation with the president and to say, Joe, gotta go.
I have a solution.
Yes.
I say that on August 1st, you turn over the presidency to Kamala Harris, push the election back 1 complete year, give her a year and a half, seriously, and disqualify both of them for both the reasons they should be disqualified.
But it's not going to happen. But you remember in 2008 when Obama was running against Hillary in the primaries, and the Clintons was so smug that they had all the black vote until John Lewis went to Hillary and said, I love you, Hillary, but the people in my district say you got to go with Obama. And that was the beginning of the end of Hillary Clinton.
You know what? I think Jim's solution is a solution to a civil war in this country. Imagine if you told the Republicans, we're going to put it off for a year so we can give Kamala Harris a little better positioning. You see how that would go. There would be riots in the streets. There would be no Capitol. They would burn the Capitol down.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that. Right?
You could never do that because, look, if Trump had said, give me 1 more year, let's put Mike Pence in, the Democrats would have fucking had a shit.
I don't think so. They would have let him do it probably. This is the thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Neither one of them have earned the opportunity to be president. 73% of the electorate believe neither one of them should be president.
Well, but that's the way we got. This is what we got. This is what we dealing with. And you know what? We done had some crazy ass presidents that served 4 years or whatever. And this is the hand that we've been dealt with. Well, gentlemen.
Wait. Can we go a few extra minutes? Because I want to just real touch upon, I loaded up a video. I've been watching the trial of Samantha Woll, and we've got Michael Jackson Bolanos, who's accused of
why
murder.
They keep saying Michael Jackson?
That's his hyphenated name. He's gotten the Michael Jackson.
You know what? Why they just say his first and last name and they got to throw Michael Jackson?
Because it's hyphenated. It's a hyphenated name. That's his,
Okay, go
that's
ahead.
his curse. So, anyways, so the prosecution has said he went in the house. Their theory is he went in the house. He was in the area. They've got that validated. That he went in the house, stabbed her 8 times. The motive was robbery, although his attorney says there was nothing taken. So his testimony is that he stumbled. He was breaking into cars. He was checking cars that were unlocked that night, and then he was also, he said, looking for Dodge Chargers or Challengers to take pictures to come back another time, maybe steal them. So here's his testimony today. He took the stand. So,
at some point in time, were you able to, I guess, ascertain what this dark figure was?
When I got close enough, yes, I could tell it was a person.
Okay. Could you tell it was a male or a female?
Not right off the hand.
Okay. Was this person doing anything?
Laying down on the ground.
Okay. And what position did you see this person laying down on the ground in?
With their back towards me.
Okay. And did you approach this?
I did.
Okay. And what, if anything, did you do when you approached?
I touched the person's neck to see if they were okay.
Okay. And was the person okay? Did they respond to you?
They wasn't okay.
Okay. And you said you touched their neck?
Yes.
Do you know which hand you might have used?
My right hand.
Okay. And why are you sure that you used your right hand?
Because I remember.
Okay. And did you do anything? Did you shake the body? Did you do anything?
I didn't shake the body. I just checked the neck, put my hand kind of like in between right here. No air, no like breath or nothing. And once I realized that I just touched the dead person, I just grabbed the bag and I left.
So I'd be curious, Jim, is, I think they're raising, some reasonable doubt in the case for a conviction. I could be wrong. The prosecution is going to bring up that when he was arrested, they asked him if he saw a body out there, and he said, no, I didn't see anything. So he lied then, or he's lying now. But he seems like really he's a petty car thief who breaks into cars. And I mean, he sounds fairly sincere, but I don't know. Jim is a law enforcement guy. What do you think? What's your sense of his testimony? And
my initial reaction, Allan and Adolph, was I agreed with you. I thought he was a petty car thief, and I thought he was not responsible for this homicide. But he said a couple things, and I don't know if it's coaching or his own words that that stood out there to me, and they bothered me, right? Because usually when you see it, there's a difference between a person and a body, and we talked a little bit about that before the show. We talked about the difference between money and currency when you work in a bank, but when you identify that body as a person, that's a little bit of a red flag to me.
Well, you know what? His attorney, he has a good attorney.
Very good.
No
Brian Brown. Very good.
I don't see them convicted him. I'm not saying he's going to get found not guilty, but I look at it, if I was a betting person, it might be a hung jury. But people sitting on the jury might saying, fuck it, he guilty, and then blocked his testimony out. But he was articulate. He's believable.
I think there's
but I don't kill people.
Right. I think there's a possibility of even acquittal based on the fact, not that he's so innocent, but that the prosecution hasn't presented sufficient evidence beyond a reasonable doubt. I think, the thing they could do to him if they really think he's the guy and they don't get a conviction is that he's been convicted, I think, 3 times of car-related thefts and stuff like that, of breaking into cars and stuff. He's becoming a 4th conviction, I think would make him, Jim would know better, a habitual offender.
So they're going to do an OJ on him.
Right.
They can't get him on this, but they'll get him on something else. Listen, what fucked this case up is the ex-boyfriend confessing. And the way the police in Detroit shielded him. Nobody knew who it was, and you know, and we got a person of interest, and how was it a week before they said who the person was, and then
No, they never. Well, here's what happened is that they made an arrest. I mean, here's what happened. He was in Kalamazoo. He worked for Stryker there, and he was on antidepressants, and they upped his dosage. He said that day he doubled the dosage, and he was basically having a panic attack, or maybe a little hallucination. He smoked some weed, and so he was sitting in his car in Kalamazoo. He called up 911. He was screaming. He was crying. And then when they came there, he said, "I think I might have had something to do with the death of my girlfriend." And so they arrested him. Detroit police came and got him from Kalamazoo. They arrested him. They questioned him. He got an attorney. And so they held him for 5 days. I knew who it was. We wrote about a suspect being arrested. They never charged him. So I thought, until they charge the guy, well, I mean, same thing with Michael Jackson Malonis. We would not have published his name, particularly if they had let him go and they never charged him. It's like, this guy, the boyfriend lost his job.
Well, they fucked up.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to deal with. Jim, you wanted to say something?
I just want to make a short tribute to a gentleman that passed yesterday. His name is Pat Hawkins. Pat Hawkins was the father of the police chief here in Trenton, Mike Hawkins, who's been on our show. I worked with Pat. Pat was the director of Parks and Recreation for the city of Trenton, Allen Park, and Flat Rock. He was the voice of the Trenton Trojans football team. He announced the football games, and he was on the school board here in Trenton for many, many years. Great guy. I just want to send my thoughts out to the Hawkins family, Mike and his family, the Petroni family, who's his extended family, and Carol Garrison and her family. It's a tragedy. He was working the Rocket Mortgage event this weekend, and we lost him on Tuesday.
Oh, wow.
Really sad, very sad. And good people, salt of the earth, people that take care of their community. And Trenton and Downriver is lesser of a place today without Pat Hawkins in the world.
Our condolences goes out to Chief Hawkins and his family. Allan, your final thought?
My final thoughts is I'm watching very carefully to see what happens to Joe Biden. I think in the next week, I think he's got the interview on Friday on ABC. I think there's going to be put more and more pressure. And I think if Biden can be convinced that it's for the better of the country, if not, he's going to stick around. Look, it's not going to be an easy turnaround for him. And then the question becomes, I don't know. It's crazy. It's crazy. And the other thing that's crazy that I follow the events in the Middle East is that, look, the IDF, which is the military for Israel, they want to finally settle the Gaza thing, get back the hostages. It's time to end it. They've got Netanyahu, who's like a appendage of Trump. He does not want to end it because he'll lose power. He'll have to leave office because people hate him so much. It's ridiculous when we have extremists like Donald Trump, Netanyahu, Hamas. We have extremists like Putin. We have the dictatorships. They all end with war. It's horrible. We have such extremes in this country. We see in France now the potential for extremism and in the leadership there. And extremists don't compromise, and compromise means they go to war to get what they want.
Well, there's no question about it. But if Biden say he's not leaving, I'm gonna quote what a little boy said to shoeless Joe Jackson: "Say it ain't so, Joe." He got to go. Yeah. You know what? It's time for a change. If they make the change now, they can salvage. If not, they need to get behind the president and do what they need to do if they're gonna keep this guy in office, and he's not gonna run. This is Detroit in Black and White. Jim, thank you very much. Thank Johnny and Mia for letting us come and tape out of video out of Ramsey. Allan Lengel from Deadline Detroit. I'm Adolph Mongo. Saturday, well, I guess 4th of July is not my holiday, but
and who do we have Saturday? Why don't you tell everyone who we got coming up?
We got Ray Washington, the sheriff, Bruce Simpson, the ombudsman, and Jadonna Dingus. We had her on. This is the young lady who was forced to move out of Grosse Pointe. You wrote that article, didn't you? Yeah. Now she's trying to get a hate bill pass, and she's having some issues. We got about the Seymour story quickly.
All right. You know, I mean, I find it interesting. It's like June 9th was his last broadcast. A woman has come forward. She's 35 years old. Her family put him up in Charlotte County, Florida, where he was playing minor league baseball. He was 24 at the time, where she alleges that he would go into her bedroom when she was 12 and they would have sexual things happening. She said at 15 they had intercourse. And then also, so then at 18 they have consensual relationship, but she claims he was passing her around to all his friends, as she was saying, prostituting her out. She came forward in social media last month and then said the reason she came forward now, she's explaining, is saying she didn't want to bring a lot of trouble for her family, but now she feels like it's time. He was removed immediately after the postings on social media. I think right after the game, that was it. And so now, you know, the Florida Sheriff's Department is investigating for child abuse. It's a mess. And I thought he was a great broadcaster. I thought he was a very likable person. And I think his career is, not only his career is over, but who knows what else, you know. Yeah, well, it's a sad tale.
Supposing it's not true, and then how you get it back.
Right. Even worse. Right.
Hey,
even
thanks
worse.
to Ann for watching. Ann's watching tonight. Thank you, Ann, for watching, for this, and saying that Adolph was against Joe from the beginning. But I think you missed one of our shows, and we wish you'd watched all of them, because Adolph said that he would vote for Joe if he was in a coffin.
I would vote for Joe if he was laying in a casket, if I had to. But
so watch more. Thank you, Ann.
Yes. So, anyways, Jim Craddock, thanks so much. Yeah, I mean, I think the Craig Monroe thing, I mean, it's sad. I talked to him once at the ballpark. We're going to have him on Deadline Detroit. He's a very nice guy.
You know what his mother name is, right?
Oh yeah, Marilyn Monroe.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, we'll see you on Saturday.
Do you notice
4th of July? What?
You notice that people who have famous names end up in Michael Jackson, all these people. Stay away from the famous names, people. Do not name your kid after a famous person.
Don't langle, Jim. Don't langle, Jim. Don't langle, Jim.
And thanks everybody for watching on this night, the day before the 4th of July. We appreciate
Happy
you all.
4th. Happy 4th.
I guess